Yo, so today is gonna be my introduction, right, to making my trade videos again better than what I used to, but basically going back to it. Um, just on some review type stuff. It ain't gonna be no predictions like, oh, it's gonna do this, it's gonna do that. And obviously, I'm gonna give my opinion. I'm gonna say what I feel concerning these trades or the pairs that I'm looking at. However, this is just what I'm just researching. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, main topic of today gonna be with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Two normal topics when it comes down to trading or investing. Reason why I'm making it about these two though is because they the leaders in their industry, bro. Like Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin is the leading currency when it comes down to cryptos. Any currency that comes after it is just it's a Bitcoin mock. You get what I'm saying? In a sense. So that's how I look at Bitcoin. It's the leader, you know what I mean? Head honcho, he first one to pop out. Him first one to break out, do his thing. You know what I mean? Set the wave. And Ethereum, that's the second, that's number two. Reason why that one's up there on reason why I say that is because now all of the newer models of cryptos are made under Ethereum now. They under that network, under that blockchain. And as we all know, the blockchain is what controls everything about cryptos, period. You know what I mean? It has to run on some form of blockchain or it's not a crypto, it's not gonna work like that. So with that being said, my whole point, well, what I basically was reviewing was basically what direction is Bitcoin going to start going back in? You know what I mean? And because of that, what does that mean for like the other cryptos? You get what I'm saying? Because wherever Bitcoin goes, it's gonna be a leader for these other ones, because that's what they follow after. Even their models, they follow after Bitcoin. You know what I mean? They're just aiming to make it better. So with that being said, I personally think that Bitcoin is going to go back down. That's just what I'm seeing right now. Now it's around like, I want to say like 23,000 right now as I'm making this video. It's on August 11th. It's like past like 1 o'clock. It's like, what time is it? 1:33. So it's like around like 23,000 right now. I personally don't see it going any higher than, I don't see it going higher than like around the range that it's at now, like around like 25,000 if I'm not mistaken. Because honestly, I mean, the highest that I see it going, honestly, because it's a zone, I was just peeping back in, because the zone is like 30,000. You feel what I'm saying? It's around that area. But I don't even see it going up there, because if it goes that high, from the research that I've gathered, which you're gonna see all of this on the screen, as I'm talking about it. However, from what I see, if it goes back up to 30,000, it's gonna surpass that. At least how I see it, or it should, And if it's gonna be a retracement from that, then it's just gonna be a retracement. It's just gonna go backwards, and then it'll have some more zones to play within. You know what I mean? However, right now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't see it going up to 30, bro. 30 just don't seem realistic right now. In the future, yes, because at the end of the day, right now, it's just creating bottoms. So that's what you got to understand, it's bottoming out. So now, for the smart investors, what you gonna be wanting to do is basically find the best bottoms to get in. So if it go back down to around the areas that I'm seeing it probably going back down to, bro, honestly, at the least, it's gonna go back. It's gonna definitely drop below its last low of around like 17,000. I think it's gonna be around like 15,000. And if it gets scary, then it's gonna be around 10,000. And we're gonna talk about that though as we continue. But I personally see it going lower. I don't see it going higher. And the reason I see it going, like, it's a lot of people right now that see different sides of the story. You know what I mean? So it's like, from like different articles that I read, and I get research from different areas. However, the quickest news that I see tend to pop up with majority of, not even just majority, but that the quickest area that I get my news from is TradeView. They come with the news because they got all types of different sources. Obviously, you can venture out, man. You can use Market Watch. You can use just normal Google. I mean, whatever you want to look up, you can find a whole bunch of different apps. Investing.com, they got stuff. The NASDAQ.com, whatever it is, you got that, bar charts. It's all type of stuff, bro. But from TradingView, it's like little different articles, and I'm just gonna pick out like little things that I found as like keys in these articles. One thing that I see as a key is that with this article, it says Bitcoin fails to take 24K for the third time in the past month, ahead of inflation print. Now what that means is they about to basically just have like a report on inflation and like Bitcoin's inflation and how it's been affected over this time period, and it's rejected going above 24,000 3 times. That's in the simplest of terms. So when you get that type of information, it's like you already know that Bitcoin is fighting this price zone. It's around 23,000 right now, like I said. So if it's fighting this price zone and rejected for the third time, this report was made on August 9th. If it's fighting it for the third time and it's still below that, then given the information that I'm also gonna go over, it looks a little shaky. And I'm not trying to input too much information ahead of time because I want to make sure that everything is understood as I'm talking about it. I don't want to get too far ahead of the game and confuse nobody with it. So this article, it talks about it. Let's see, I actually went a little backwards, my bad. But it's also people, that's why I say I'm gonna look at it from both sides of the spectrum, bro, because it's also people that think that Bitcoin can go back up. You feel me? Ones that think that 30,000 will soon mean back close to the 40,000 and up to the 60,000, and maybe then we can get 100,000 and all that, right? With that being said, it's still a lot of factors that's gonna play in that. However, there are people that see both sides of the spectrum, like my boy, I don't know how to say his name like that, Ki Young-ju. I'm gonna guess that's what his name, CEO of South Korean on-chain. He predicts that it's gonna go back above 30,000. You know what I mean? And he thinks that right now we're around that starting point. And I can understand where you can believe that because of how the chart looks. The chart makes it look as if we've just reached the bottom and it just had a price spike. You know what I mean? Over these last 4 weeks, it's had a price spike. 4 or 5 weeks, it's had a price spike going up from its previous drop. You know what I mean? So because of that, it's like I can understand where you would get that, like, okay, maybe this can be a change in direction. However, you still have to remember that it's more sellers in the market right now than it is buyers. That's just facts. There's not more buyers in the market right now, because if it was, the price would be going up continuously. The price has been dropping continuously, so that's a sign that it ain't all there right now. You get what I'm saying? So he's talking about it. More on just him talking about it, because what is he saying? Basically, he was talking about how Bitcoin dipped down below 17,000 before it got a little relief. On July 13th, it managed to reclaim back above 20,000. And I mean, that's all good. And it did that within not too long of a period, but from its 13-week drop, right? You got 13 weeks that has been dropping consecutively. You know what I mean? And now it's had, like I say, like a week or maybe 2 of a pullback, you know, within it. But it's been dropping consecutively for 13 ongoing weeks, selling mainly. So with that, it's like over this little 4 or 5 week time period that you got, it's like, yeah, that's good that it's going up. You feel me? That's good. But at the same time, the fact that it's only going up but that much, like so far, I ain't gonna lie, from that 13-week loss, it's went up 50%. You dig what I'm saying? It's went up back 50% from that loss. So that's good, and that means that it can get back to higher levels. However, with it already going as slow as it is, it's been 4 or 5 weeks going on now, we can expect a pullback from that, because it's not often that you find a trade that's gonna last 9-10 consecutive weeks of selling. So far, the only one that I've seen do that is Ethereum, and we're gonna talk about that later. Ethereum is the only trade that I've seen so far that has had a real 13-week consecutive drop in price, whether it be a drop or increase. Either way, consecutive price change is the only one I've seen with 13 weeks and no pullbacks. You know what I mean? So with that being said, because it's already been through a 4 or 5 week period right now, I just don't see it, bro. I don't see it. Just now, it could just be a pullback. You get what I'm saying? Like, it could just result in a pullback with Bitcoin. You get what I'm saying? Like, it could be buying right now, and because it's already been, you know, it's been a little consecutive for 4 or 5 weeks, right? It could just pull back a little bit and continue to go up. That's why I'm saying it's still room there for that. However, that's why you got to pay attention to the price changes, because how it's looking, it just don't look like it's gonna be like that. We're gonna get into that though. So yeah, and then it's my boy, who is this? I don't even know his name. Let me see. Yeah, he said Mike. His name is Mike Novogratz. I'm assuming. I don't know how to pronounce everybody's name, to be honest with you. But Mike Novogratz, he recently predicted that the price of Bitcoin was unlikely to recover from the 30,000 level. You dig what I'm saying? And yeah, that they basically still spectating on that 100,000. You know what I mean? Like, they still want that 100,000 to come into play. They still want to find space for that 100,000. You feel what I'm saying? So with that being said, let's talk about it now. At this point, let's talk about it now. So first things first, before I even talk about it, you're gonna see a chart on your screen, right? With this chart, I'm about to mark it up, basically. Now, I've already marked it up, but I'm about to mark it up for you. So with this chart, the only things that you need to understand, because this is how I read charts, and it's very simple, it's very easy. I'm putting you on game. It's very simple, it's very easy. All you need to know how to identify, well, what you need to know to identify in order to understand how I read the markets is simply knowing how to read a zone, like where a price zone is. Now, people call these supports and resistances. I call them strictly zones. You need to realize a price zone. That's something that you need to know how to realize. And then on top of realizing what a price zone is, you need to also realize how to read the Fibonacci retracement. And I'm going to tell you how I interpret it. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you how I interpret it, because how I interpret it can be different from how somebody else uses it to interpret. So I'm going to tell you how I interpret it, and then we'll discuss it. Right? So look, with this look, you got the month, right? On the month, you see it's naked. As you can see, I already got it marked up to the point of, not even marked up, I got a little marker showing that little 10,000 zone. You get what I'm saying? You can see where it says $10,708, right? Down below. That's one of the lowest that's one of the lowest points that I can see it going. I think the actual zone that I put down, if I'm not mistaken, is 10,627 or 77 or something like that, but we're gonna see in a minute. So you got the naked view, right? This is the naked view of the trade. This is how it looks. As you can see, it's bearish, bro. It's been going down, bro. The sellers are in control right now. You understand what I'm saying? You can see that just by looking at the chart. It's right there for you. So then you go over, you're gonna see where I put my first zone, sell zone. That's the only difference that I call them. It's a buy zone, sell zone. Depending on where the price is at, that's how I set the buy zone, sell zone. You know what I mean? Or knowing the difference between it being a buy zone or a sell zone. You get what I'm saying? If it's a zone that's above, it's a buy zone. If it's a zone that's below the current price, it's a sell zone. You get what I'm saying? Sell zone, just in case you didn't hear me again, because something loud just happened. Sell zone. You get what I'm saying? So, with that being said, it's the first zone that I found as a sell zone, which marks around, what is that, 14,664, right? So that's a zone that I personally picked out, which is around that 50, goes back to that 15,000 that I said that I just personally couldn't see it going. No, that I personally see it getting close back to if it goes back below that 17,000. That's the point that I said that I feel like it could reach, right? So that's like my first little zone area. The other ones that I gathered these off the week chart. The best way to mark up your zones is through the month or the week. Now, month, depending on how long that particular stock, crypto, whatever has been around, you might not have enough to go off of with that. You might just get the bigger highs and the bigger lows off that. So it's not, but the week will really help you, like, just find some common ground zones. I wouldn't personally do the day if you're trying to look, if you're trying to know about things for long-term instances. So yeah, anyway, that's my first little zone with that. Then, as you can see, I marked up my next zones, as I said, on the week, and this created my buy zones and another sell zone for me, right? So with this other sell zone, we got that at the bottom, at the low of 19,283, right? And this was a point of where the price basically touched down and then ended up spiking back up. And this is what, from that little area around that price, it spiked back up, as I said, and it started a bull run. You know what I mean? Because this is part of that spike that everybody is circulating about right now, that they trying to figure out, is this spike gonna mean something? Is this gonna be a big one? Is it gonna be a little one? How's it gonna go, right? So that's the other sell zone. As you can see, it retraced from that sell zone heavy. You get what I'm saying? You can see it. So as it goes, I have a buy zone at $30,014. I have another buy zone at $46,239, and then I have my final buy zone at $64,317. As you already can tell, the 64,000 zone is definitely the last zone. It's one of the highest ones. You get what I'm saying? It's a major one, because that's close. That's around the prices that it was when it had its last breakout. I want to say it was sometime last year, if I'm not mistaken, because it wasn't this year. If I'm not tripping, it wasn't this year. It was last year when it went back up to 60,000. So with that, that's obviously one of the biggest ones. So it's like, to know that is good, but to live and thrive off that, not okay. You know what I mean? Don't trade knowing that. You know what I mean? Like, knowing it could get back up to 64,000, so I'm just gonna hop in for 64,000 because that's what I want. I wanted to get back up to 64,000. Don't just do that. Wait, bro. Wait. Be patient. Find the best times to hop in, whether you trading or whether you investing with it. You got to find the best times to hop in. You want to hop in at bottoms. You don't want to hop in just any random spot and trade, because now your money is just in at any random old spot, and that could be a consolidation point. That could be a major retracement point. That could be anything, and you could lose your money. You know what I mean? You want to be smart about when you hop in and hop out of a trade. It just goes like that. So I got these zones measured out, and then we go back over to the month, right? As you look at the month, basically what I want you to be realizing as we looking at these images, right? I want you to realize that the trade, how it looks compared to its zones, and where the zones are, where they land, right? Because these zones are not created zones by me. understand that these zones are created zones by the market. The market made these zones. You understand what I'm saying? So when I show you this price of 46,239, I'm not creating that price. That's not me. That's not me saying, oh, this is the zone. No, this is what the market shows. You never want to go against what the market shows. When you hear, that's why when it comes down to people saying like Bitcoin can hit 100,000 by the end of the year, tell them to show you the proof with that. Tell them to show you how it can hit that. And I'm not just necessarily talking news and the good things that can happen, because bro, you can have the best news in the world about a stock or anything and it can raise it, right? It can raise it, but that don't mean it's gonna go crazy. You get what I'm saying? So that's something to make sure that you pay attention to. So with Bitcoin, make sure you just you focus on these price zones and where they at, where they land. See how close, realize how close the sell zones are to each other. The reason they're so close is because those buy zones have been so separated from each other due to the space that these sell-offs have created between them. You get what I'm saying? So that's just important to realize when you're looking at Bitcoin. Pay attention to the zones that it's in, because the zones matter, prices matter, numbers do not lie. That's one thing that I've always said with the markets. It's had its shaky points for me, because I've interpreted the market plenty of different ways throughout time. You get what I'm saying? So my bad. It's been shaky at times. You get what I'm saying? However, overall, know for a fact, numbers never lie when it comes down to the market. That's something to always remember. Numbers never lie. So with that being said, then you can go look at the day, right? And through this first visual of the day window, you can already see from where it dropped, you can see that the prices have recovered 50%. You get what I'm saying? It's recovered 50%. You can see that just by how it looks, right? This is another reason why I'm pointing this out first, because this shows more that I don't create the zones create themselves, but we just trade from the zones. You get what I'm saying? So look, it's at 50%, right? With it being at 50%, and you can see that visually, you don't even have anything to tell you that yet. We go to the next one, right? When we go to this next one, right, we will see smoothly that I placed the Fibonacci retracement on there, right? Now the Fibonacci retracement, you always start with 0 from the place of your trend, where the trend starts. So make sure that 0 is at the place where that trend starts. So if you looking at a buy trend, place that 0 at the bottom, and 100 should be at the top. You get what I'm saying? If you're looking for a sell, then that 0 should be at the top of that trend and go down to the bottom, and 100 should be down here. You get what I'm saying? So with that being said, when you see me draw out this Fibonacci, move, man. When you see me draw out this Fibonacci, right, what it is it's showing that, and I drew this from the week. Understand, I made this Fibonacci from the week. I drew it off the week one, not the day, the week, off the previous trend. So right now it's in a buy, but I drew it from its previous sale that it was just in order to gain knowledge on the percentage growth that it's had back since that previous loss. Does that make sense? I hope so. So with that being said, you have right here, you can see that it says that it's back around the 50% zone, right? With it being back around the 50% zone, you can expect a couple things here. It's recovered over 50% of its my bad, it's recovered over 50% of its previous losses, right? Now that can mean one of two things, right? It can either continue going in that direction, thriving in that direction. You understand what I'm saying? It can either continue thriving in that direction, or it can go down, meaning it can retrace. You get what I'm saying? Because it's already recovered 50% of its losses. That is not a guarantee that it's going to recover 100% of its losses. Plus, it took 13 weeks for it to have these losses. Within 4 or 5 weeks, it has regained that momentum the opposite way. You get what I'm saying? To go back into a buy. However, like I said, it's not often that for consecutive weeks, it's not often that it goes for, honestly, even 7 or 8 weeks in that same direction. So we can already expect a retracement. Plus, it's around the 50% area. You get what I'm saying? That's signs of a possible retracement. Now it can keep going, which is where you get the plus side of it. If it keeps going, then that's positive for Bitcoin. That's positive. That's a good thing. You understand what I'm saying? However, it's not a definite. You know what I mean? It's no definite either way. You got to see. That's why when it comes down to trading, also when it comes down to trading, your patience is everything. Realizing that setup that you want has not happened yet is everything. Because you can easily hop into a trade thinking off of what you see and what you know is going to happen, yet you haven't allowed it to unfold. You get what I'm saying? So you could get in early and you can get taken out early because you didn't wait for it to unfold the way that you should have in order to get in at a better time, because there's no perfect time, a better time, and not see so much downside. You get what I'm saying? And only see upside rather than downside. You can wait for setups like that. Setups like that present themselves all the time in the markets, but it's on you to be patient and not rush it. Because you see the money right there and you want it, don't mean that you got to go grab it. Give it some time. You know what I mean? It's got to unfold. Because, and there are times where you can get in and you might not get taken out. But it just builds up that fear that you gonna have while you in that trade also. Because you can be your own worst enemy with this. You can see a trade that you thought was good and you might be holding it. Let's just say that you've been holding this trade for like a day or two, right? You've been holding this trade for a day or two and ain't seen no upside. You could get discouraged and just assume that it's not a good trade no more and hop out. Because you don't want to take the risk of it hitting your SL. You don't want to lose too much money, so you just hop out. Then the next day it go up it didn't never touch your stop loss and it go up, but you was already outside the trade. That fear factor came into play. You get what I'm saying? And fear can control you way more than you think when you in the markets. You might not even think you scared, but you acting off fear. So anyway, point being, it's around that 50% zone, right? Dangerous area. You got to see what it's going to do. You got to see how it's going to react. How it reacts on its lower time frames will tell you how it's going to react on its look on the day time frame or the week time frame or the month. And say, for instance, you looking at a year, right? Them smaller time frames is going to create a bigger one. So that's what you got right there. As you can see right here, like I said, this is on the week. How you can see how I drew it from the week, so that you know that I wasn't lying about that. That's how it operates. That's from that previous trend. You can see that it's regathered 50% and it's done it in some pretty decent momentum. It hasn't had, but it's already had, as you can see, it's already had a couple pullbacks within that time. Like, even though it's been going up for 4 or 5 weeks, it's had pullbacks already. And that can be a sign of maybe a not so strong trend for it to be having pullbacks this early in its reversal. You get what I'm saying? That's something to pay attention to, is having pullbacks so early. It's like it hasn't really went in a continuous trend down or up. Not my bad, not down, up. You get what I'm saying? It hasn't went in a continuous trend up. So it's in a dangerous, it can be dangerous to be assuming that it's just gonna start buying out all of a sudden, right? So that's that look. Then you go back and you look at the month. As you can see, I added in that 10,667 price zone, that sell zone. I added it in just so that it can be a visual for you, so that you can see it, where it's at, how it lies. And once again, just pay attention to the space between sell zones and the space between buy zones. It's different. Why? Because those spikes down have been heavier. Those sellers have had way more control than these buyers have. That's why it's like that. You get what I'm saying? It shows. So with that being said, we move on to Ethereum real quick. While I'm going over these prices and stuff. We move over to Ethereum. You see that I've already marked it up. Same rules apply. You can look at it. I already got the Fibonacci there. You can look at it. You can see that I have sell zones priced at 1,071, 714, and $422, right? You can see I have those sell zones, and then, well, I don't have the Fibonacci set up yet, actually. However, I do have the zones. And then I got the buy zone of 2,234, 3,482, and 4,605, right? So with those zones, then I went and created the Fibonacci after this on the week. So after I created all of my zones, found my zones, right? When it made the Fibonacci, as you can see through the Fibonacci off the rip, just looking at the week, it hasn't even recovered 50%, let alone it hasn't even recovered 44% of its previous loss. You get what I'm saying? But it has had that same spike back up as Bitcoin has, and Ethereum has some pretty big news or something that is dropping right now, dealing with merging with proof of stake over proof of work. So they have, you know, they're creating new paths, right? And like I said, all these other cryptos that are run off the Ethereum network, they rely on Ethereum. Without Ethereum, there is no them. You get it? So you have to pay attention to that when it comes down to focusing on these other cryptos too, that if this is going up, those are probably going up too, in its own way or in its own right, and vice versa. So as you can see, it hasn't recovered too much of its gain, and it's been over, I want to say with this one, it's been over 6 weeks now since it's been going back up, and it's recovered some of its gain, but it hasn't recovered a lot. Now with that, this could be a good sign or a bad sign, because of the simple fact that it hasn't had a steady pullback. You know what I mean? It hasn't had a steady pullback, so it's really still going up. And with that, it could mean good. You know, it could be a positive pullback and push towards that 50% mark of its previous loss, right? However, it's also been 6 weeks. We have to keep that in mind, and that's not always normal for trades to sit there and continue in that consecutive direction for those long periods of times, like 7, 8, 9+ weeks. You know what I mean? It's not often that they do that. Feel me? So with that being said, that's just something to pay attention to when you're looking at Ethereum, and notice where it's at in the market, that it has the momentum of the buy, but it's still very much in that sell. You get what I'm saying? That's my whole thing, man. It's very much in that sell. So I'm gonna place this to the side real quick, and I'm gonna just open up my notebook. You'll probably see these notes on your screen in some way, shape, form, or fashion. However I'm gonna put it up, I don't know yet, but you'll see some, whatever notes that I'm talking about, you'll see it pop up somewhere on your screen. You get what I'm saying? I'm gonna just pick out some things that I feel is very important to note, to make sure that you pay attention to, things that I could have possibly went over already, but just want to reinforce a little bit. Oh, definitely I want to go over this note right here. I'm gonna read it straight, because you gonna see it the same way that I typed it. Well, the same way that I wrote it, but you gonna see it the same way. And I'll see if I put this example in there, the one that I made. I'll see if I put that in there versus putting it in a different light, right? So with this, right, what I was talking about is how to identify zones and the best way to remember what a zone is and what it looks like, right? So what I said was, think of the market and its zones like a tattoo. Once you get a tat, it never changes unless you make changes to it, or your body changes over that time period. Same with zones in the market. Once that zone was created, it's nothing you can do in order to move that zone out of its place, right? So always remember that that what a zone looks like, well, let me put it like this, because I was about to go ahead of myself, so I'm gonna just keep it the same. So always remember that always remember that's what a zone looks like. An area in the trade that stands out amongst the rest of the price changes. Same as how a tattoo stands out from the rest of your body. With that in mind, you can never lose track of the tattoo effect. Trending areas that transition on occurrences. You know what I'm saying? Once again, the tattoo effect. Trending areas that transition on occurrences. Okay? So, with that being said, that's an easy way to just remember zones, man. Like I said, with how I was pointing out in zones, I'm gonna see if I can put some pictures up of how to on little things to identify on it. I'm gonna just use Ethereum right now while I'm looking at it. With these zones, what I mean by trending areas is it's either in a buy or a sell, right? It's a trending area. It's what it's doing at this moment. And then what I mean by that transition on occurrences means it's going in that direction, and then something happens to make it go that opposite direction. You get what I'm saying? So it's like a spike. It's like a spike. You get what I'm saying? It's like a spike, a moment that you realize a change, not like a confusion, as in I don't know if it's gonna do this or that. Those are like pullbacks. A change. Those create zones. You get what I'm saying? Those changes create zones. So with that being said, and that's why I say you can find zones on any time frame. Like, I just use the bigger time frames to know a more overall point of view of where prices are going, but you can use smaller time frames in order to grasp smaller time frame changes and know how it's moving within this type of time. You know what I mean? I just look at it from a different way. So with that being said, that's what I was writing about zones, just to, you know, further enforce zones with how it all looks, right? I probably won't put this little example just because I'm not explaining it right now. If I do put it up in some way, shape, form, or fashion, it'll come without an explanation. So it'll just be something for you to look at and see if you can, you know, grasp the idea of it. It's a very simple example, but just to go ahead and throw that out there, just in case I do. I might not. We'll have to see. Let's see. I've already spoke on that. I'll still put it up though. What I found to be true about Ethereum is its consistency with Bitcoin, and because of that, how much other cryptos move according to how Bitcoin or Ethereum moves. I say Ethereum because most crypto projects now run on the Ethereum blockchain, and Bitcoin obviously because that's a currency. You know what I'm saying? Just to throw that back in there if you didn't hear it, just so you know how it moves. Right. So question when it comes down to these that I had put in here, right? I asked the question, I said, and I was talking about Ethereum in this case, right? So I'm gonna put another picture up of Ethereum, right? I'm gonna put the blank one, right? Well, it was never no real blank one. It was always one that already had it marked up, right? However, I'm gonna put that one that's already marked up, and then you answer this question for yourself. I'm gonna give you the answer that I got based off of my own knowledge and research that I've been doing and still consistently doing. However, you can come up with your own answer, right? So with that being said, the question was, does this mean that the buying power could run out soon, since it's been moving upwards consecutively for 5, maybe 6 weeks? It's only covered less than, but above 35% from its previous loss, which has been over a course of 91 days within that time. So if it runs out of buying power, what would that mean for future prices, right? That's the question. Now, my answer You might have your own, you might think of it differently than me. That's cool. There's many different ways that you can interpret this stuff. So with that being said, my answer is depends. Could be that it'll just suffer from a pullback from the buy direction, but continue back up it after a week or two, slant back down. Or it could be that it never had enough buying power to recover from that consistent 13-week loss period, which is one of the longest that I've seen from that time. Well, longest that I've seen with no pullback. And it'll just continue back down with the bears, given they have been controlling the market for some time now, continuing to drag prices lower and lower. All right, so that's my answer in a nutshell. To explain my answer and why I put that answer is because, like I said, Ethereum can either continue to go back up and push higher up to that 50% mark. You get what I'm saying? In order to recover more of those losses, or because it's already been through a 5-6 week period, which, as I said, it doesn't last that long being too consecutive like that, because it's been through a 5 or 6 week period of buying back some of that previous loss. It's also possible that it could just drop back down and not fully recover and create more losses or create a new trend of loss. You get what I'm saying? So that's important to realize, because it's bearish. Whether you want to admit that or not, it's bearish. It's the facts. Bitcoin is selling. It's in a sell. It's a sell-off right now. And the bulls, the buyers, they're trying to push it back in the opposite direction of that. You get what I'm saying? That's their goal, in order to make prices rise back higher. So with all of that being said, that's the little notes. Once again, I'll put some of them up that you can read, probably even ones that I didn't even go over, but just notes that you can read in order to, come to your own conclusion. I'm just, putting the information out. Any pair or anything like that anybody ever wants me to go over, I'll do my own personal video on it. It's plenty of pairs that personal people have asked me to, look at for them throughout time, that I'm gonna spin back to, make a video about it, because you never know, it could be somebody else that really wants to know this type of information when it regards, the trade, how they want to, operate. I'm just gonna put it out there for you, give you my analysis on it, give you my information on it, just so that you can have it. You know what I mean? Maybe I can steer you in the right direction, and maybe maybe I might not help you at all. You never know, but my goal is to help you in this area. So with that being said, yeah, I think personally, like I said, Bitcoin is gonna go back down, and Ethereum is too, because it follows after Bitcoin. But it also has its own personal reasons why it can go back down, not even just being that it follows after Bitcoin. So I think that it's gonna go back down. I think that it'll probably reach back down to around 15,000. If I'm just being honest, 10,000 if it gets hectic. You know what I mean? 10,000 if it gets hectic. So I don't know. I won't say that that's a 100% fact. But what I do know is it's definitely moving. It's moving, and it's moving quick. And finding out what is gonna be next to do is gonna be interesting, because once that bottom, let's say for instance, I'm gonna give how I feel about it. Once it bottoms out, right? If it bottoms out again, and it goes below that zone, that sell zone of around 19,000. Once it bottoms out below that, say it does touch that 15,000 I was talking about, we're just gonna go with that. Say it touches that 15,000, I recommend anybody buy it. From that moment that it touches 15,000, I recommend anybody buy it. Put money in Bitcoin off the rip, if you're asking me. And once again, well, I haven't said this yet, but I'm gonna let you know right now, Bitcoin in specific is a rich man's sport. You get what I'm saying? So the rich are gonna make way more money off of it than you would. But understand, any investment is worth it as long as it's an improving investment and it's not taking away. You know what I mean? So still, if you want to put some money into it, put some money into it. I say around that 15,000 area. If you get back below 10,000 or near 10,000, you should just put more money in it, honestly, because at that point you got to look at that upside that it's gonna have. It has to have that upside. What goes down must go up. What goes up must come down. That's how it works. You know what I mean? Because if you throw a ball on the ground, what's it gonna do? It's gonna bounce back up, right? If you start off in the air in the plane and you fall and you jump out that plane, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna fall. You know what I mean? You're gonna fall. Nah, but on a serious tip though, make sure that you pay attention to that. If it goes around that 30,000 area, I say pay attention to it. I'm not gonna necessarily say buy. I'm not gonna necessarily say sell. Now I'm gonna say it like this: if it go past 30,000 and move around that 35,000, I recommend you go ahead and buy it then. You know what I mean? Go ahead and buy it then, because it's showing signs that it might not go back near that 20,000 zone, and you might have missed that good window to get in, but you can still get a good. You might have missed that great window to get in, but you can still get a good window. You know what I mean? And then, you know, as time goes by, you might be able to get a better one. You know, it might drop back down a little bit. You might be able to go back up. You never know. So that's how I feel with Bitcoin. Ethereum, same way. I feel like Ethereum is going to drop heavier than Bitcoin, though, just based off of what I've seen, the information that I've gathered with it. I feel like it's just going to drop further. Obviously, it's buying right now, but I feel like it's going to drop. So in terms, I don't know what that's gonna mean for a lot of the other cryptos. As I said, anything that needs to be gone over, I'll go over it personally. I'll handle it. You know what I mean? It can just be sent to me. I'll trade a video on it, cause I don't mind doing this. Honestly, I don't mind you know, giving out my analysis on how I feel about a trade or how I look at it, because in the end, how I look at it can be how somebody else is looking at it too, and they might just need that extra confirmation. You know what I mean? That, hey, this can be this, let me go ahead and act on it. You know what I mean? You never know. I don't personally sit here and come on here and say buy now, buy now, buy now. It could possibly be a time in the future that I might end up doing that. You never know, because I don't know what the trades is gonna hold. I don't know what time I'm gonna be making the video. I don't know what I'm gonna be making that video on. I don't know. So I won't say that it won't be like that to the point where I'll sit there and be saying like buy now, buy now. But for the most part, it's always gonna be left with optimism. Like, you can do what you gonna do, but I'm advising you how to move currently. You get what I'm saying? With the current situations at hand, what you should look for, you know, key things that you should pay attention to on how you can move with it, you know, how you should operate, you know. Just sharing a little insight is basically all. So that's all it is to it. Man, you know the vibes of me, man. Anything else that you need from me is all in the description. Link to any socials, all type stuff like that. That's in the description. It's gonna be there. Contact information in the description. You know what I mean? So, hey, that's about it for me. Hope that this can help somebody, you know. Hope that it can be a little sign, a confirmation for whoever needs to hear it when it comes down to investing and knowing what's going on within these markets. Because, man, I know these markets get tricky, bro, and it's a lot of mental games that come involved with it. So just balancing that in itself can often overwhelm you to the point of where you don't even have the mental capacity to research enough to know what next move to make. So me sharing the information that I gather, I know that it's gonna help somebody. You get what I'm saying? For that simple reason alone, because you're already trying to balance out all the mental challenges and balance out your trades as is, that sometimes you don't have time to focus on doing all the research and, you know, focusing on the simple things about trading and not overcomplicating it, because we can often overcomplicate it. At one point I was overcomplicating this stuff, and, you know, I'm not saying that leads to bad results, but it also can lead to some struggles along the way by overcomplicating it when it's really simple. You understand what I'm saying? It's really simple. Not saying that you're gonna be able to take, by following after me or anything, you're gonna be able to take every trade and win money. No, you ain't never gonna lose. No, I'm not gonna say that, because it all comes with is risk and reward. You know what I mean? However, it's on you to balance it. You got to balance it out. Something that you got to learn personally. But like I said, you be taking so much time learning stuff like that. Why not have somebody else help you with gathering some information on how to move? That's all it is to it. That's just all I'm here for. So, with that being said, catch.